Started. Okay. Hi, welcome. My name is Sheila Gold. I'm the Executive Director of Admission for the Tulane School of Professional Advancement, and I'm joined today by the Director of the MPA program, Dr. Halim Malik Francis, and also some other colleagues of ours. Ann Conlon is behind the scenes, making the magic happen, moving the slides. She also just popped a hello in the chat box, which is where you all can ask questions during this program. So feel free in the chat to ask questions. I'd also like to introduce Kelly McClure and Jerry Graves, who are also colleagues of ours. What I'd like to do while we're introducing ourselves and saying a few things about the School of Professional Advancement, if you all wouldn't mind going into the chat box, saying where you're from and what certificate you're interested in for the MPA program. We'd love to hear a little bit more about you, and it would give us a little bit more of a sense of how to answer questions and direct some of our talking points today. So the chat box is at the bottom of your screen. Right now it should have a little number 1 in it that Ann just put in there. Okay, Amanda's from New Orleans and interested in the marketing certificate. New Jersey, nonprofit management. Hello, Melanie. Thanks for adding your Anjane. I hope I said your name correctly. New Orleans nonprofit management. Yes, I said it. Great. It's a beautiful name. I'm glad I read it correctly, Anjane. Welcome. And who else? Yes. All right, well, keep putting your information in there if you see it. I'd like to share a little bit about our school. As the admissions director, I talk about SOPA all the time, and I love it. It's kind of like bragging about one of my children. I can talk about it all day because I love it so much. So just to give you a little bit of information about SOPA and where we fall within the larger Tulane University. So Tulane University itself was founded in 1834 as the Medical College of Louisiana. And it's so interesting about history and the way things are founded. It was actually founded as a medical school to respond to the yellow fever epidemic. And if any of you all know your Louisiana history, and especially New Orleans, yellow fever hit this part of the world very hard. And so Tulane found that there was a need to respond to the citizens of its community, and so founded the Medical School of Louisiana. And now here we find ourselves in an epidemic again with coronavirus, and we certainly are responding to that as well as a university. Very shortly thereafter, about 50 years thereafter, Tulane started its first incarnation of what we now call SOPA. It was it offered continuing education classes to adult learners in the community. So if you think about a community, it was hit by an epidemic, and that changes the lives of people, changes the trajectories of their families. Maybe they lost members and they needed to go back to school to advance themselves in their career. And Tulane responded to that as well and said, we're going to start classes for continuing ed and adult learners. Today, we now call this the School of Professional Advancement. There's been many incarnations over the years, but teaching adult learners is in our DNA. It's from our very beginning. And now we do it a little differently, but we are better for our years of having done this. We are one of the oldest schools to have done this, and our students feel that in the classroom. We have online learning. We were one of the first schools to adopt online learning, and we do online learning really well. And we can talk a little bit more about that in this webinar. Our programs and our faculty are designed for adult learners who have other things going on in their lives, like careers and family and other responsibilities. Our student support is actually second to none at the university. And I'm going to say this not only as the executive director of admission, but I actually have 3 degrees from Tulane, my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate. And so I know all parts of the school, and SOPA's student support might be the best in the entire university. That's partially because of our faculty and people like Dr. Francis, and then also we have student advisors, and we have folks on staff that help our students get jobs. That are the connections made are unbelievable. We offer flexibility to our students that I think you won't find at most schools. So I know as students, you're savvy consumers and you compare sort of schools and curriculum. Please look into our flexibility. We work with our students to make your education fit into your world. And then our price point, we are actually very much in the middle of the pack. We are not the most expensive school out there. We do that on purpose. I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the webinar. And then, of course, we are part of Tulane University, which is a world-renowned university. We're an R1 research university. Our faculty who come here are top of the line, which you will learn as you go through this webinar. And a Tulane degree gets students hired. And so I think that you will find that there's an incredible amount of value in having that degree as well. A little bit about online learning at SOPA. We were early adopters of online learning. You know, a lot of people are becoming aware of online learning since the coronavirus epidemic. And before that, weren't quite aware that schools were either doing online learning or had a certain perception of it. We've been doing online learning for years. And what that means is that our classes are actually designed to be translated from in the classroom traditional learning to online learning. And what that looks like is we have a whole team of instructional designers. These are educators, trained educators, whose job is to look at traditional curriculum and translate it to the online learning space. And what that means is that our classes online are interactive. There are opportunities for group engagement. There are opportunities to make relationships with faculty and other students in the classroom. We have multimedia ways of interacting. Some classes might be like this, where you're in boxes having discussions. Others might be small breakout rooms. Others might be actual simulations where you get to do projects. Others might be informative videos. So our students aren't just sitting and looking at PowerPoint presentations. We are experts in this field of online education, and our students get a lot out of it and find that it's actually quite rigorous. There are discussion boards and opportunities for collaboration. And so Halima will tell you a little bit more about the actual curriculum as we move on. Just to give you a little bit of data behind our online learning, we have over 1,400 students who have completed almost 13 hours of online coursework. That's how we know that we're experts in this area. We've done it a lot, and we're continuing to do more. We have 8 master's degrees, 11 graduate certificates, 4 post-bac certificates, and over 300 courses, all developed to be specifically online. And so we add all those elements that I talked about to the online learning. And then our faculty, over 200 faculty, are actually trained to teach online. So they're not just classroom teachers who are popped online, but they have training in this. So they know how to engage learners and create an experience where learners are going to get the most out of their time in the classroom. So I'm going to turn over the presentation to Dr. Leek Francis to tell you a little bit more specifically about the MPA program, and then I will pop back on later to talk about the application process.
Thanks so much, Sheila. And I want to welcome you all. I'm really happy to see the representation of certificate interests as well as geographic location throughout this program and on this webinar. So thank you for that. I'm the director, as Sheila shared, of the Public Administration program, and our program houses the Master of Public Administration degree as well as graduate certificates that are tied to civic sector work. So as we look at just a little bit more broadly, the Master of Public Administration program, it's designed to really prepare our students to be forward-thinking, responsive And as I think about our coursework and the knowledge that you gain that prepares you to go out into the civic sector, we center things like equity, innovation, integrity, and which are so important in this work. So just as you think about the program a little bit more broadly, those are the things that we really focus on, and they tie together. As students who are taking certificates in the program, you will be taking courses alongside other Master of Public Administration students. So you get to experience classes with students who are doing the full MPA. We have a very diverse student background and student interest. Many come from careers where they're already working. There are some who are new recent graduates, and then there are others who are pivoting within their careers. So you really do get to experience our courses and the classroom experience alongside other students who are pretty diverse in representation. The program is designed to be online. So when we designed it, when we developed the curriculum, like Sheila was talking about our online programming, our program is designed to be taken fully online. And the courses are done synchronously. So they're done synchronously and asynchronously. So it's a blend of both. The synchronous element is what we're doing here live on Zoom meeting. The asynchronous is pretty much self-guided, and you go through the courses alongside other students, but it's not, you don't have live meetings for that. Our synchronous meetings are about once a month, and that varies from course to course. So that's something to keep in mind as you're planning your courses. Next slide. So our graduate certificates are stackable into the MPA. So say you want to start taking a certificate and you decide later on you want to pursue the full degree, the full MPA degree. You can do that very simply and very straightforward. So these are our certificates that we offer. Each is comprised of 4 courses, and they offer you the opportunity to really get that specialized knowledge and expertise in a specific field of study. We have nonprofit and strategic philanthropy management, K through 12 leadership, which are running right now, and then economic development and environmental management and resilience are scheduled to start in August of 2021. But if you're interested in environmental management and resilience, you can actually get started in classes as soon as this spring coming. So those are our courses or our certificates that we offer, and they're really designed to be cross-sector, to prepare you for the multiple domains that affect civic practice and civic work. So you would be able to very quickly and with a strong base of knowledge transition into work, whether it be in nonprofits, government, the private sector. So a diverse spectrum of opportunities that exist within the civic sector. And here are career options that I was alluding to in the previous slide. So you can see here some examples of career paths that you can take. One of the things I want you to take away from this is that we are seeing a lot of need and projected growth. So this is a huge growth opportunity career-wise. Careers in the civic sector are very diverse. Oftentimes I get questions about, so what kind of job would I have if I get an MPA or if I get a graduate certificate in public administration or a public administration related field? And the answers is pretty diverse. We work in government, we work in private sector, some of the positions that we have listed here. This statistic of 5% and 14% projected growth by the year 2026 was pre-COVID. So I would argue that that number may have grown exponentially, perhaps doubled at this point because of all the need that we're seeing. Throughout the civic sector, many professionals who I talk to kind of float through different spaces. So some may have worked in nonprofits, they may pivot into government, and then they may pivot into private sector. So there's a lot of flexibility as you're thinking about building a career that's related to civic sector settings. So our program, alongside our students, I am most proud of our faculty. We have a wonderful faculty that is comprised of experts who stand at the head of innovation and work in their fields. Here's some of the faculty members that we do have who teach specifically in some of our certificate areas. And you see here the diversity of expertise that they have. So I've also invited, just so you can hear from them directly, two of our faculty members who teach in our certificate programs. And I'm going to invite them to speak a little bit about their courses and perhaps also share some insight into their work backgrounds as well. So I think we'll start with you, Kelly, if you can share with our guests the course that you teach in and also some of your background in the civic sector.
Sure. Hi, and welcome to everyone. I'm not sure if my video is working.
It is. Yep.
Oh, it is. I just don't see it. Okay. So hi. So my name is Kelly McClure, and I've been working as an adjunct actually with Tulane for a year and developing a number of courses in education, both for the public administration programs and those over in the K-12 programs. I will be coming on full time as the director of pre-K-12 education programs in January. So very excited, but we'll also teach the course for this program, which is education leadership and policy change makers. And so as Halima was just saying, it's an opportunity to take what's being learned in the larger program of the MPA and apply it specifically in the field of education. So for this course, I'd call it definitely a survey course. It tackles a lot of huge issues in, sort of a survey type of way. And what that means is we look at educational policy making at the federal, at the state, and the local level, and how that affects the individual schools every day, and the decisions that they make. It's about the sort of past and current education law and policy across the United States, but particularly in the states where a lot of this is made enlivened, let's say. And then there's a strong strain, two other strong strains within the course. One is around organizational management and change. And so that is in designing the right type of organizational culture and mechanisms for success. And also, as we so often do in the field of education, managing through changes such as COVID. And then the final piece is really what we think of as more emotional intelligence of the leadership required to do these things well. And so there's a strong look at equity, which is a huge piece here for our programs writ large, and also around situational leadership, how to have the crucial conversations, how to manage people through change, and how to be a servant leader, essentially, in whatever position someone decides. So I think even if this was not your first choice in terms of the focus, it's a great way to get some practical thinking of what this type, what public administration looks like in the education sector. Halima, you are muted. There you go.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. We also have Jerry Graves, who teaches in our environmental management and resilience concentration and certificate. So Jerry, could you share?
Sure, this is Jerry. I'm going to be developing and teaching courses as part of the environmental management and resilience track within the public administration program. I've actually been teaching at Tulane and other universities since 2015 and am now an experienced online instructor as well. And I really want to express to the students that are listening the level of care that goes into giving you the best experience possible in the virtual environment is really off the charts at Tulane University. And I can say that confidently because I also teach at two other schools, and I can tell you the rigor at which they prepare the instructors for these courses is simply not the same elsewhere. So be confident if you're on the fence about engaging in an online program. Now, as far as what we're doing in the environmental management and resilience track within the MPA program, we start with a basic 7400 course where you would learn about environmental policy from both the federal, state, and also local perspective. And of course, along the way, we are going to be discussing the role that the private sector plays and the nonprofit sector as well. As Dr. Francis pointed out, everything that we're doing in the program, we're doing through the lens of social equity. And certainly that is something you would be learning more about if you were to choose this particular track. I'm going to stay on the line to answer any questions that you may have, and I really hope that you consider Tulane.
Thanks so much. I always like to have our faculty join and share their perspective. I like to brag on the program pretty holistically, but it's also good to hear the voices and see some of the work that you would be experiencing as students. So we're going to dig a little bit more deeply into the specific certificates that we have. And in the next few slides, I'll be sharing information on the individual certificates that we offer. So first here, we have the certificate in nonprofit and strategic philanthropy management. And this program, this certificate, you see the courses that we have listed here. It really focuses on enabling you or providing you with the skill to lead not only in the nonprofit sector, but also in philanthropy. So recognizing that nonprofit and philanthropy pretty much go hand in hand, we developed a set of courses and curriculum that really allows you to see this work from multiple perspectives, if you will. Some of the faculty who we have who are teaching in this program have experience in things ranging from disaster philanthropy to evaluation to nonprofit leadership and management. So you'll be learning from top leaders within the field and who've done some amazing work there. So moving along to the next certificate, in K through 12 education leadership. This certificate was really interesting in our development, as Kelly shared earlier, some of what you'll be experiencing in the course that she focuses on, but the program, the certificate itself, it really prepares students to work in non-instructional roles, if you will. So there are many roles that touch education, that have an impact on education, policy, private sector roles, nonprofit and philanthropy as well. And if you're interested in working or learning about those roles and what that work looks like, this will be an excellent certificate for you. It also would be a great certificate or learning opportunity for those who are interested in education leadership on the administrator side as well. But we really do focus on how other roles, other areas, other professions do have an impact on K through 12 education. So you see some of the courses that we have here, and we've identified some key touch point areas that include things like policy, finance and budgeting, leadership within the educational sector. So this is what you would experience as a student within the K through 12 education leadership certificate area. And it's like I said, it's really wonderful for those who are considering those non-instructional roles and some very diverse opportunities that have an impact on education. So next we have the economic development certificate. And this is really, it provides you a very strong foundation if you are interested in economic development as a function within the civic sector. So not only do we look at business development, but we also look at workforce development, talent attraction, all the diverse elements that play a role in economic development and the civic sector. As we were building out this particular certificate, we recognized that economic development was particularly important, not only for New Orleans, but also for other communities, other cities cities, other urban areas, as we are grappling with a lot of the complexities that we see within contemporary society, most recently the COVID crisis. So this particular certificate gives you that perspective on what communities, what the civic sector needs to be healthy and resilient in grappling with those complexities. And last but not least, we have the certificate in environmental management and resilience. Looking at this particular certificate, again, it was grounded and inspired largely by a lot of the experiences that we've had locally, but also recognizing that our environmental management and resilience impact has been felt nationwide as well. So our courses were really about providing students with insight and skill and knowledge to be able to navigate some of the risk and some of the challenges that come along with environmental issues. So a lot of the things that we focus on in this are things like data. Equity is certainly central to this conversation. Civic resilience, how do we bounce back when we experience various environmental challenges? Given that our definitions of environmental risks and environmental experiences have expanded to include some natural environment as well as man-made environmental issues, it's a very holistic approach to really understanding this issue. So for our students who are interested in environmental management, it's an excellent opportunity to build that specialized expertise there. So before we jump into student support and success, I again thank you for joining us, and I invite you to ask me any questions that you might have about the certificates and about the program overall. I will say that we take a huge interdisciplinary systems-based approach to really understanding and grappling with the topics and issues that we focus on in the program. And as I think about one of the things that makes me most excited as the program director is that we are preparing our students to be civic leaders who are adaptable, who are responsive, and who are resilient. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll hand it back over to Sheila.
Thanks, Halima. So for just a reminder, if you all have any questions, put them in the chat box. But if you don't, that's okay, because I will share contact information at the end of this webinar, and you can always reach out to us afterward. I always like to let students know that as the executive director of admissions, I consider, just sort of philosophically, I consider admissions the beginning of our relationship building with our students. So we like to get to know you. It's part of what I think makes SOPA so special, is that we actually have relationships with our students and they know us and we know you. So don't be shy about asking questions. Nothing is really off the table. So feel free to reach out. To touch back a little bit more on what I was saying earlier about student support and success, we wrap our students in sort of a scaffolding of support. And that's because we want you to be successful in whatever way you want to be successful. If you want good grades, that's one thing. If you want to create relationships with your faculty, that's another thing. If you want help navigating jobs, that's another way that we can help you. All of those ways are ways that we can help you. And also helping you explore sort of your place in the professional landscape. Halima sort of shared that there are so many different ways that these certificates and degree can help you professionally, and figuring out who you are in all of this place in this landscape is part of what we do. So please ask your questions and reach out. Our academic advisors are here for our students. They are easy to get in touch with, and they're incredibly responsive. That's one of the things that we pride ourselves on at SOPA. Our faculty have such an array of industry experience, and so you should use that as a value-added piece to our degree. Reach out to them if they've had jobs that are interesting to you, or if there's areas of their research that's interesting to you. Reach out, ask them, and learn a little bit more about the industry. Also, we do have a dedicated career advisor that is only for students at SOPA. So oftentimes schools will have career advising, but they have sort of a pool of advisors for the whole university. We have our own dedicated career advisor for SOPA, and she's wonderful. And you should create a relationship with her as well. And then also, we have our alumni network. Tulane has a vast alumni network, which you will have access to as a Tulane student. That is part of the value of your Tulane degree. So use that as an opportunity to reach out to folks, ask us who are other people who could be mentors to you. And then, of course, having your Tulane degree will open up doors for you as well. Next slide. So one of the interesting things that SOPA does, and we do this for students who come in with some degree of experience from their prior work or learning. And we also offer this as an option to students as a way that we can help save you money a little bit. So there's sort of a dual purpose. Is we offer what's called credit for prior learning. These are for students who have work experience, community service experience, or military training that might be equivalent to courses that we offer in our curriculum. If you have worked in the public sector or in the civic sector, if you have experience, I always use this, Halima, as an example. So if there's a different example, this is a good time for you to tell me. But for instance, if you've had experience as a grant writer, that might be a class that you might not have to take, or that you might not need to learn the curriculum about. If there are certain concrete experiences that you've had through your professional journey, and you feel like there might be a class that would be redundant, reach out to Dr. Leek Francis, have a discussion with her, and she can help you see if there's one or two classes that you may not need to take and that we can give you credit for. There are certain steps that you will need to take through your meetings with Dr. Francis, but if you can prove that you have the professional experience that meets the learning objectives of the classes, we can offer up to 6 credits of a portfolio assessment, and that's the equivalent of 2 classes that you will not need to take. So if you feel like that fits you as a learner, please reach out to Dr. Leek Francis and continue the conversation. Halima, do you have another thought or two?
Yes, Sheila, that was a great example. And as one who myself, I've spent over 20 years in the nonprofit sector, part of that time as a grant writer, I will be extra rigorous on those of you. I'm just teasing. But yes, that's a great example. So thank you.
Okay, good. That's always my example. As somebody who has also have grant writing experience and curriculum in grant writing, it's not a class that you necessarily would need to take again, because once you've had the curriculum, you know it. And if you've done it, you know it. So that is sort of my go-to example. All right, so please, that would be great for you all. So as the admissions director, I like to talk students through our application process. We are purposely transparent in our application process. We don't have any tricks that we're trying to catch you up on. We're not purposely trying to like weed students out by having an opaque set of criterion. But if you do find as you're going through the application process, you have questions, I'm going to say it again, please reach out to us. You can send us an email. It's very easy for us to answer questions, and we enjoy talking to students about it. We do not require the GRE. I always like to start off telling students that there is a lot of research out there in the higher ed world that's pretty definitive in showing that the GRE really is not a very good indicator for student success in a master's program. So there's no need for it. So for those of you who are anxious about having to submit a GRE score, you do not have to do that at SOPA. We don't find that it's a great criterion for ruling in or out a student. You will have to complete the application, which can be found at sopa.tulane.edu/apply. If you go to our website, you will see a big button at the top that says apply. Click that, and you can pick the graduate application and the term for which you're interested in applying. There is an essay that you will need to fill out as part of your application process. We have a $50 application fee. However, as our thank you to you for attending this webinar, we will automatically waive that fee. That is done automatically. If for some reason you do not have your application fee waived, once again, send us an email. It takes about 10 seconds for me to waive an application fee. So it's a very quick email. Hi, my name is, I applied to the MPA program. I attended the webinar. My application fee wasn't waived, and I can send you an email back that says it has been waived now. So please don't be shy about that. We will need you to upload an image of a current ID. So for most of you, that would be a driver's license. For some of you, that might be a passport. Just literally take a picture on your phone and upload it to the application. And then we will need transcripts from any place where you did undergraduate work. Or if you also have another sort of advanced degree, you will need to send that as well. Transcripts can be sent electronically or by US Postal Service. We prefer electronic transcripts because we get them very quickly, in some cases within hours, certainly within 24 to 48 hours. We do prefer that if you send them by US Postal Service, that you send them directly to our office and not to you first. We need them in a sealed envelope that has not been open order for them to be considered official. So you can just send them directly to our address. The electronic address and the US Postal address are on our website and in the application. So you can find that there.
And also, as we kind of transition with the application, another element that is required for your application is your resume. So we want to have insight into your any work experience or volunteer experience that you may have. And also, as you work on your essays and responses to the questions, please give special attention to your writing and how you communicate and respond to those questions. We do put a lot of emphasis on written communication in the program. So I just ask that you put a lot of effort and really think through those responses that you're sharing with us.
Thank you, Halima. So our applications, we have starts every semester. We have 3 starts each calendar year. We are still accepting applications for spring. For those of you who are interested in starting in January, our application deadline is January 1. So you still have plenty of time, about 3 weeks, to go ahead and get that application in if you would prefer to start in our spring semester. Classes begin January 19th. So you do have plenty of time. For those of you who are interested in starting for the summer term, application deadline is May 15th. And then for those of you who are interested in the more traditional fall starts, our application deadline is August 1. So you have plenty of time for that as well. We consider affordability something that we take very seriously at SOPA. We do know that going back to school is an investment. We understand that it's an investment of money and of time, and that most of our students have other responsibilities that they also have to take into consideration, such as family, work, travel, those sorts of things. But we have worked very hard to create a tuition price point that we think is very much in the middle of the pack for programs like ours. There are much more expensive programs as ours, but we don't feel like their quality is any better than ours by any means. Our tuition rate is $1,078 per credit hour. Each course is 3 credit hours, so each course is a little over $3,000. I always like to point out to students, we have very, very low fees on top of our tuition rate. I know that students are very savvy consumers. So when looking at other schools, don't just look at tuition. Also ask what rates, what fees they have on top of their tuition rate. At many other schools, fees can almost double the tuition rates. And that is not the case with Tulane SOPA. You virtually pay just the tuition with a nominal fee on top of it. Also, our faculty work very hard to make sure that the extra money that you will need to look into for books, that they keep very low. I know that they provide lots of reading materials that they'll upload so that you don't have to buy extraneous books when there are reading materials and other materials that they can provide for you. The vast majority of our students do apply for some sort of financial aid. My trick and tip as the executive director of admissions is to fill out your financial aid application at the same time that you're filling out your admissions application, because it can take several weeks to go through the financial aid process, and you don't want to be left doing that at the last minute. We have financial aid counselors available at Tulane to help you with questions you might have with that process as well. The types of aid we have available are federal grants and loans. We are very proudly a yellow ribbon school for those of you who are veterans. And we do offer 20% discounts for active military and veterans, as well as retired public safety personnel, like first responders and police and fire. We do, as we mentioned, offer our 6 credits for prior learning. We had talked about that at a previous screen. And I do consider that a savings. That can be up to almost a $6,000 savings if you have prior learning or life experience that will opt you out of 2 full classes. Next slide. We do have early enrollment scholarships for those of you who are preparing your applications early. We encourage you to get them in early. We do read applications on somewhat of a rolling basis. So that means if you get an application in and you complete it, we will offer you your admission decision. And if accepted, you will have the opportunity to enroll early for a semester. For those of you who are applying for spring, we actually just passed by our early enrollment opportunity for the scholarship for spring. But for those of you who are interested in the summer and fall term, if you enroll for classes by May 1 for summer or June 1 for fall, you will receive a $500 scholarship. That is $500 that we give to every first-time student who enrolls by these early dates. That is our way of saying thank you for being a committed learner, for being committed to your education, and we'd like to help you out your first semester. So that $500 will be deducted from your first semester's tuition bill. So that is not insignificant. So thank you for being with us. I'm going to turn over the screen and the microphone to Dr. Francis, Lee Francis, for any questions that you all might have.
Yes, thank you so much, Sheila. And also thank you to Kelly and Jerry for joining us as well, and Anne for managing our behind the scenes work. So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. And if any of you do have any questions, feel free to get them in as I'm kind of wrapping up here. So you see on the slide our social media contacts, as well as my contact information. If any questions come up after this presentation, I hope to see all of you in your applications in the coming weeks, and also any questions that you might have about the certificates, or if you have questions about the MPA program as well. I'll say that our faculty, our support staff, our whole team here at the School of Professional Advancement and within the Public Administration program, we care deeply about our students' success and really positioning you to build the careers, to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there for you to ultimately be successful and make an impact in and through your work. So just trust and know that you're in great hands when you choose to advance your career and advance your education through the SOPA School of Professional Advancement in our Public Administration program. So with that, I thank you for your time and I look forward to hearing from you. Take care.